What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association, and what was the 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner given out by the Canadian Media Association. So two, and I did it reverse this time. And just recently, I am now the co-host and co-producer of the only online show in the world for dads and fathers that is sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care, also co-sponsored by Dad Central, Canada's national fatherhood organization. And with that collaboration, or being part of that collaboration, last year was able to be part of a team that reached out directly or indirectly to over 100,000 fathers around the world. As always, I'd like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. We are broadcasting live today, June 5th, 2022. I'm here in Toronto. Not a bad day. It's getting a little overcast, so we're probably going to get a little rain, but the weekend weather has been absolutely fantastic to do anything you want, most anything you want outdoors, if possible. We are here actually every Sunday afternoon around 5 p.m. Eastern Time. We do Black Canada Talking, and it's a live online event that provides Black Canadians the opportunity to give their takes and POVs on stories that are of importance to them. And this week we have, every 2 weeks we have a panel, and two of our panelists, Sarah Yango and Elle Jones, are not able to make it today, but we have Cesar Ndema-Moussa, who's with us today, and him and I will be chatting about three rather important conversation topics. But we would like you to put the comments in the comments section. So let's welcome Cesar. What's going on, Cesar?
Brother Vibe, BIA Media, brothers and sisters, thanks for having me. Thank you, everyone.
Pleasure. How's things been with you over the last few weeks?
Things are great. The news in the world are not always so great. From the impact of the war in Ukraine, notably in Africa with food prices, that Western media don't talk about enough. Of course, we have to deal with gas prices, mind you, but also I have to say, the importance of family. We got family from the States. Shout out to Uncle Billy on my wife's side. So definitely important to be able to, my Pan-Africanism connect both sides of the ocean, descendants of colonization and descendants of slavery, kind of in the work of our great leader, Stockley Carmichael, aka Kwame Ture.
Ture, yes.
Exactly. We must not let white supremacy or any other supremacy separate Black people from connecting and being stronger, bonded. Yeah.
Receive. And I noticed something different. You've changed the picture behind you. You have the same. You see, I can watch. So for those who have been watching Black Canada Talking for a while, Cesar had a picture of some black greats behind him, and now he's changed it. So tell us who's in the picture and why the change.
Well, in the picture, so first of all, let me say you have to see it says thinker. There's a message in the back in terms of kind of a motivational speech as a Black person that whatever you go through, whatever the hardships, etc., be the thinker, use your mind, gain your knowledge, stand up for your people, etc., be the thinker, and thus showing five great Black leaders associated with one characteristic of their nature, of what they became known for. Of course, it's not the only thing, but I think we can recognize peace with Martin Luther King, Obama as President of the United States with power. We can see Brother Malcolm X with respect, our elder Nelson Mandela with dignity, and Bob Marley with love. So I took this from our officers from Roots and Culture Canada, and I decided to switch it up. I had the other one for pretty much 9 months. I felt it was a good time to switch it up.
Yeah, thank you for giving us a little story and the update. And I've got a shout out to you because someone that you have suggested beyond Black Canada Talking is coming up in the future. Do you know who that is?
Should I suppose our CEO of Roots and Culture Canada, Miss Ketsia Peters?
Yes, she's going to be coming up in June.
Okay.
because she's got so much stuff going on. That's the earliest I could get it.
She's
But
in a meeting right now. Actually,
y-
as we're
y-
speaking. Yeah.
yeah, and I think she's going to be launching a new initiative. And I think in regards, well, can't remember the full details.
Black
We correspond.
entrepreneurship.
Yes, and I think that's going to be part of the conversation we're going to have. But finally, like if you do these things, you don't want to stalk people. You have to chase some people down in a good way,
Yeah. Of
and
course.
she is going to be on. So looking forward to that future conversation. And
Thank
again,
you.
Cesar, thank you for recommending her because no, she does so many wonderful things, and it is about time that we give a global recognition to the hard work that she has, is, and going to be doing.
And thank you for taking a moment for her because, like you said, recognition. And we have to always remember this no matter the struggle and no matter how we can think we are alone in terms of our consciousness, standing up and making efforts, there are many Black people who are doing the right things, who are standing up, who are working extra hour, extra shift, who are underpaid, who are abused, who are unrecognized in the quality that they bring to uplift us all. So thank you for having Mrs. Peters just as you have me every time here and you have other guests. This is what we need. This is how we build not only a strong Black community, but it requires strong Black minds and Black minds that are connected. And as such, those who are allies who can come together and recognize that we are not begging. We can work hand in hand and we can
Mm,
raise our fists higher.
very, very important point. We don't need to beg.
There's no need to beg.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, folks, they want us to hear us chop it up today. So, first thing we're going to be chatting about today is the number of mass shootings that have been happening in America lately.
Hmm.
I think over the last few weeks, obviously, there was a tragic gunning down, murdering of a number of Black individuals in Buffalo. Then we had the events in Texas. And I was doing a live conversation last night with Aisha K. Staggers and Jill Jones and Laura Lala Key and Laura uh, I can't remember other Laura's last name. I even heard yesterday that there was a mass shooting at a funeral yesterday in the United States. Where do you sit in regards to what's going on with all these mass shootings in the United States?
Many people won't like what I'm going to say. So I guarantee I will offend probably people on both sides of the question. But first and foremost, let me say this. I do have a firearms license. I'm a former security manager and bodyguard. So this topic is one I'm not going to claim it hits close to home. I don't have someone in a school in the US who has been shot per se, but I'm going to call it the way it is. It is absolutely American exceptionalism that you have all these mass shootings. Mass shootings defined by a shooting that kills four people or more, excluding the shooter himself, because it's overwhelmingly males. I can't think of a mass shooting that was led by a female, by a woman. But it's absolutely ridiculous, this American exceptionalism. So I'm going to hope not to lose many people here. America is an empire. Every empire has a central element which is called violence. There's no such a thing as a peaceful empire. The very notion of an empire is centered on violence, ideology of being different, being superior. And as such, usually what an empire does is that it externalizes its violence. In the case of America, we just need to think about Vietnam, but also Iraq. But let's not forget there was also Haiti and so many. I mean, it's like a American world tour, aka where has America bombed in the world? Now, the American exceptionalism is that these mass shootings absolutely don't need to happen. It is really a problem in the psyche of the nation. You have the Second Amendment, which is a ridiculous piece of constitution dating to the end of the 18th century, and you have people who try to hold it as is some type of divine law, aka the same Second Amendment that came at a time when it was said all men are created equal, but then they kept blacks as slaves. So we have evolved from that time. Women are no longer conditioned to only being in the bedroom or in the kitchen. But you have, and we have to say, it's a minority of gun owners, let's be blunt, of white gun owners who are strongly attached to the Second Amendment with a lobby, the NRA, National Rifle Association, that is not just lobbying. We have to call lobbying what it is. It's corruption. That's what it is. It's corruption. Lobbying is a Western term for what they call black nations corruption. That's what it is. It's corruption. So it's completely ridiculous. And as such, to show you how ridiculous it is, I like this example. When America defeated Japan in 1945 during World War II, General Douglas MacArthur was in charge of the reconstruction of Japan, which included a new constitution. The main piece of the new constitution was that Emperor Hirohito no longer had any power. He became, like the Queen of England, a symbol. However, something that most people are not aware of is that MacArthur and the Americans made it that in the constitution and the laws of Japan, people are not allowed to own guns. This is why, if you check, you will see the sharp contrast in terms of gun killings between America and Japan. And even when you check other Western nations, you will see that other Western nations strongly took measures against gun ownership and notably machine gun ownership. What's a citizen doing having a machine gun at home? They took strong measures. Whether we look at England or whether we look at Australia and even Canada, they took strong measures to limit the potential of killings by gun. As anti-gun as people can think my message is, another example I will give is how there was once an attempt of killing in China, but it was so hard to get access to a gun. The person only had a knife. How likely are you going to be able to kill many people with a knife versus a gun? So I absolutely oppose the Second Amendment. I understand the American nature in terms of freedom and so forth and all this. Listen, to me, it's completely BS. In the words of our great Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, understand the way that I said it. Justin Trudeau put it, you cannot claim freedom to own a firearms when you live in a land where so many others lose their freedom, aka their life, for going grocery shopping and worse, going to school. In my personal case, and this is where I will pause, I really lost hope with the American gun debate with Sandy Hook in 2012. My logic was very simple. Columbine is one thing. Sure, it brought the attention to the world, and I had just finished high school. But if the killing of elementary school children, as in Sandy Hook, did not make America as a nation move, they're all guilty. They're all guilty because they will move and pass laws in regards to abortion. They will move and pass laws in regard to LGBTQ people. They will send billions of dollars to Ukraine. You know, inflation, uh, poverty, all these issues, Ukraine, billions of dollars suddenly appear. But firearms, killing of children, and as a black person, I make myself no illusions when it comes to killing of black people. But killing of children, people live in a nation where they're okay, aka the richest nation in the world or the most powerful nation in the world. And in the words of Ted Cruz, I really dislike that guy. Just to, the nation of freedom, the freest nation in the world, and it's not that they're unable to stop the gun problem; they're unwilling, because these Americans have the mentality of, you know, like the Second Amendment says it, a well-regulated militia. These people are. It's not militia. And the excuse that they always give when it's white shooters about mental health, that's a lie. What kind of mental health helps you to buy a gun, to properly strategize, to basically, uh, scout the area? And no, that's not mental health. They're white domestic terrorists. That's what they are. I don't care that they're 18. I don't care that they have, they put some threatening messages online, or that they don't have a girlfriend. The white domestic terrorists. And no, 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 no. I make no apologies. The American gun debate is American exceptionalism. I feel terrible for our people, like in Buffalo, will get killed because when it comes to black people, it lasts a day or two, maybe a week at the most in the newspaper, and then forget about it. But I really feel, notably as a father, we have to educate our children, our people on self defense. And as such, we have to protect our neighborhoods, we have to protect our communities. Because unfortunately, when it comes to Buffalo, it will happen again. These white supremacists will aim at killing black people. Absolutely.
Well, a lot to decipher there. I'm gonna add another interesting point about this. So the NRA had their convention a few days after that event in Texas, and I
Yeah,
found it very interesting that they did not allow anyone to carry guns inside the convention.
of course. The
I
sheer
found that
hypocrisy.
I found that very, very interesting.
Trump went to give a speech and he made it clear that he didn't want anyone with a gun uh anywhere close enough or something like that. He didn't allow people with guns until a certain distance or whatever it was. They fully know what they're doing. When it comes to the American gun debate, I always say it. As mean, cold, or harsh it may sound, they haven't killed enough people, especially children, for the American population to really move on the politicians who are corrupted by the NRA. But at the same time, it's either they haven't killed enough people or they're not killing the children of politicians. These mass shooters are not crazy. They're not going to go try to go in those private schools with fences and security who are willing to shoot back. They're not going to go there. So these politicians are easy to buy, they're easy to corrupt. And it's not a matter of saying that they're overwhelmingly Republican or they're only Republican. At the end of the day, it's a US national problem because those same people, they move in force when it comes to abortion. They move in force when it comes to immigration. They move in force when it comes to LGBTQ rights. They move in force when one of the celebrities dies or so forth, etc. But do they really care about mass shootings? Do they really care about the sanctity of life? It's an empire. An empire is built on violence. It's part of the natural, like ritual. It's like a TV show, It's like another tragedy, a new chapter in the show.
Hmm.
More mass
And it
shootings
just
than days in the year.
and
It's
it just
crazy.
because you and I have lived long enough to see attempted shootings of presidents. Remember a number of years ago, Reagan, there was a attempted assassination on him, and one of his aides end up in a wheelchair, and you would think maybe that would change it. Is and I agree with you. If nothing changed from Sandy Hook, that tells you a lot.
For me, it was Sandy Hook. Sandy Hook. Like there was something that died in me because after Sandy Hook, what happens? You need to start having mass shootings in daycares. Like they need to, like what can be worse? Like going to shoot 6 month old. I mean, what could a 10-year-old child in that school in Uvalde, Rob Elementary School, what could a grade two, three, four child could have done to deserve getting shot? I feel so bad for all of these parents. Don't
Mm.
send them your thoughts and prayers.
Yeah, they
You're
don't
gonna
want.
bring
They
the
don't
kids
want.
back.
No. So
And when I say that, we have to remember we're talking about Rob Elementary School. It's kind of like America going to war. There's this joke for non-Americans people, which is that Americans learn world geography depending on where the armies are bombing. There was a time no Americans knew about Mosul or Kabul or Kandahar, all these places, right? We're learning about America, National Geography from all these mass shootings. Now, talk to me 2 weeks ago. Did I know about a place called Uvalde? I would have thought it was someone's first name.
Hmm.
I mean, I'm really sorry to say it like that, but when you really think about it, it's like, where is the next place? And I'm saying the next place to make big news. Because since then, there was a mass shooting in a hospital.
Yep.
You talk about a mass shooting at a funeral. It's like, why will it take? I honestly ask, will it take mass shootings to start occurring in daycares to start killing 6 months old, 1 year old? My daughter just turned 1 year old. Oh my God, it's I feel terrible for all of these families. All whatever the skin color, whatever the political affiliations, religion, whatever you want to call it, I feel terrible. You leave your child at school in the morning and you get a call or you see on the news and your child is dead. And my sympathies to that man. I just remember his last name, Garcia, who died of a broken heart slash heart attack.
Yes. Yes.
You know,
Yes.
so
Yes.
to all the man haters, angry women out there will think men don't really love and all men are so and so. This man, as so many others, dying of a broken heart because that's how much he loved his wife, the mother of his children. I feel terrible. The repercussions are terrible. Dead mother, dead father now, 4 orphans. It's America the problem. It's
What would you say, you mentioned empire? Would you say that we're watching the decline of the American empire right in front of our eyes?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I'm going to tell you something. So I'm going to try not to go too geopolitical. America literally missed the opportunity of its existence. It's such an amazing question that you ask. Let me put it to you like this. I'll give you a parallel. Some people will think I'm crazy, so Google it, research it. During World War II, Hitler had two options. He chose one, he didn't choose the other. It was simple. He could have gone for the nuclear weapons. He chose to go for high powered missiles. The high powered missiles, notably by the company Von Braun, eventually led humankind through America to go to the moon. But Hitler didn't have the nuclear weapons, which helped America win the war against Japan. This is the same thing here. 1991, the collapse of the Soviet Union. America was the sole global power. China was not strong. There was no competition. USSR crumbled. Gorbachev, through uh, glasnost, gave USSR to America. But what did they do? Business as usual. The Taliban used to be welcome in the White House. They continued their imperialistic way.
True.
They could have had a time of global peace, global hegemony, where they could have created an empire to redress inequalities in the world. But they didn't do that. So to me, that's really when the American decline started. Some people say Vietnam. Some people say since the mid 70s when America actually started to uplift Chinese economy, because surprise, surprise, it's America that uplifted Chinese economy to bring down USSR. Some people like to talk about the 80s and moral decay and drugs and all that. For me, from a geopolitical lens, 1991, America failed a decade where there could have been that empire of good. And as of 2001, falsely attacking Afghanistan and Iraq, killing through sanctions, aka starvation, hundreds of thousands of Iraqi children, continuing its policies that are strongly anti Palestinians but also anti Black. The hope that could have been America completely died, and we keep seeing that. And you know, you What you see on the outside is a reflection of what you see on the inside. And analysts of geopolitics are adamant. This decade, American politicians are correct. This decade is crucial to America because all analysts predict that 2040, 2050 is really when China will be the world hegemony. And China has always been a global hegemony till the 19th century, basically mid 19th century to mid 20th century, 1970s, when the Western nations brought what is called the century of shame and humiliation upon China. So technically, China becoming that global hegemony that it always was, even in the Roman times.
One last thing before we go on to another conversation topic. Um, how do you feel the impact going forward of mass shootings in the United States impacts the average Black American? And I'll use a little caveat on that. On one of my other conversations on Saturday night, State of Things with Aisha and Jill, Jill Jones, of the Jill of the Aisha and Jill, said, with all the states, more and more states passing open carry laws, she said it's open season for killing of blacks.
Of course.
Thoughts?
Allow me to refer to our great leader behind me, Brother Malcolm X. And I'm going to say it, this may shock a lot of people. Integration killed Black consciousness. For the vast majority of Black people, integration, aka getting closer to whites, living in white neighborhoods, you know, being able to go to school with whites, marry white women and men, integration is a blessing. But truthfully, it killed Black consciousness. And how does that relate to guns? Is that unfortunately, these states that are passing open carry laws, let's be honest, they're not passing open carry laws in the hope of seeing a bunch of Black people coming to get a firearm license to walk around with a guns like a bunch of Black cowboys, as in Mario Van Peebles' movie Posse. Absolutely not. We know very well what happened to our proud brothers and sisters of the Black Panthers when they did open carry, and a certain Californian governor, aka Ronald Reagan, swiftly took measures because if there's one thing America fears very much, is a conscious and proud Black person. And what do they fear after that? Is a conscious and proud Black person with a gun. So absolutely, these open carry laws will enable a lot of these white supremacists to accidentally shoot Black people. Before you think I'm exaggerating, let me tell you a crazy story that happened a few weeks ago in Africa, where a white South African shot a Black woman claiming that he thought she was a hippopotamus. It would seem crazy, it would seem funny, but we have a Black woman who got shot, and this white man basically claimed mental health for shooting her down. Black consciousness will have to strengthen. We'll have to bring Black people together to create stronger communities because, whether we like to hear it or not, massacres such as in the Church of Buffalo are bound to occur more. When they say you will not replace us, as in Charlottesville in 2016, when they basically have a bunch of Darlene Roof who can't wait to go kill a bunch of Black people, excuse my language, N word, when they have, you know, a president such as Trump, and at the same time we still live in a world of white supremacy where white is good and Black is bad, yeah, Black consciousness will have to come back in a painful way because indeed the killing of Black people is real.
Okay. Thank you for your thought process and sharing on that. Let's move to another conversation topic. We live in the province of Ontario. And this last week, just passed, there was an Ontario election. And the results, I think, were not surprising, but eye opening. and that
Mm-hmm.
the Progressive Conservative Party, everyone expected that they would have a majority, but
Mm-hmm.
the two main opposition parties, both leaders resigned,
Mm-hmm.
and the Conservatives have a bigger majority
Mm-hmm.
than when they went to the polls.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts about the Ontario election, and what are your thoughts about the Ontario election's impact on Black Ontarians?
Well, first and foremost, let us be honest. Congratulations to Doug Ford. Congratulations to Prime Minister Doug Ford, because look, this conservative and this conservative. Right now, there is a leadership race for the federal Conservative Party, and really, the big question is: should they be further to the right with someone such as Pierre Poilievre, who is basically adding fuel to the fire of conspiracies and other right-wing nut rhetoric, or should they be more centrist, such as with Jean Charest and what I forget his first name, Brown, the current mayor of
Patrick
Brampton,
Brown.
Patrick Brown. There you go. No, I say congratulations to Doug Ford, because Doug Ford basically got is a conservative prime minister who he knows how to generate sympathy. He knows how to get votes from non-whites.
Well, okay. Well, okay. Keep on going. I'll let you finish because we're
No,
going to bring up some more thoughts in regards to that.
and I mean, when we see that we are in an Ontario where not only he got reelected as a conservative premier, but he added 7 new seats to his majority. It's quite a sharp contrast to another conservative premier, aka Jason Kenney, will resign in Alberta following a 51% trust vote from his own party. So, right now, if we dare to be honest, Ford is the number one conservative politician in the nation,
Yep.
which would have been impossible to even think of a few years ago, even when we think about his brother Rob, in terms of
Hmm.
even being elected prime minister, but now he's re-elected and with a stronger majority. Now, as I've always said, and I don't want anyone to come pretend or whatever accuse me of anything, I'm a Pan Africanist. I'm neither liberal nor conservative, and I'm definitely not NDP. But one thing that's for sure and certain, this shows further the falling out of favor of the Liberal Party. And I think people have to give a break to Kathleen Wynne, because she just came at the very end after like 15 years of McGuinty in power. But this further shows the NDP bad reputation since the 90s with a certain Bob Ray. We have to be honest. This is not accidental that we have Ford, a conservative, being elected, being reelected. And even for those who are francophones, will talk about, the conservatives and Ford don't care about francophone rights. Well, not too far from here in Ottawa, Glengarry Prescott Russell, they had the elected MPP, member of provincial parliament, who had quit the Conservative Party to go liberal in the name of dignity for francophones. Well, guess what? In a very francophone riding, Glengarry Prescott Russell, over 60% francophones, she got defeated. She
Hmm.
got defeated for a conservative, francophone conservative candidate. But at the same time, as I say this, so you were asking in terms of black communities. Let's speak first in terms of black politicians. I was actually interviewed by CBC, French CBC, and last week, and one of the things that I told them was how interesting that we see black politician candidates, notably conservative, being put in ridings such as Vanier here in Ottawa, a liberal stronghold where, unless a major surprise, are bound to be defeated. And that's exactly what happened. The Conservatives and the NDP had a black candidate, and they both got soundly defeated. So, again, like I was saying last time, we have too many black politicians who go into politics to beef up the resume, not really to win. And these politics, how do they really affect black people? Let's be honest. The next 4 years are not going to be much different for black people. It's a conservative government. It's not the most racist government, if I could dare to put it in a certain way. It's more like business as usual under COVID, under the regular promises, but it's for us to construct our community and depend less and less on the promises of governments. Governments don't change for the sake of black people.
Hmm.
They change for the sake of the majority. Black people are not even 10% of the population here in Canada. They're not even 5%. I don't think most people realize that the concentration of black people is in Ontario and Quebec. And if you want to go even further in detail, the concentration of black people is along the highway from basically Windsor,
Things
especially
there.
Toronto and the
Yeah.
GTA,
Yep.
to Ottawa and Montreal. That's it.
The corridor. Yep.
That,
Yep.
that, it's that corridor. This is where
Yeah.
there's the concentration of black people, because from Vancouver to Moncton, outside of that corridor, I think it's like 80% of black people in Canada will live there.
I want to go a little bit into, an interesting question just raised my mind. I never thought about it. According to statistics so far, there was the lowest turnout
Oh yeah.
percentage wise of voters in this Ontario election.
Mhm.
I'd be very curious to know how many eligible Black Ontarians voted.
Well, I mean, it was what 43.5% of
Yeah,
voters who
eligible
turned out.
voters.
But at the same time, we can't put this as an excuse for the conservatives to win, because in Ontario we have fixed elections. So whether it was a conservative or the liberals in power or NDP, it wouldn't have changed anything. At the same time, we have to look at the context of inflation, of COVID, social isolation. People did not have the mind on these very uninteresting elections. It didn't draw the passions of people.
Well, hey, one of the things is Ford never talked to the media. Which is, but I'm just saying as neutral here. You have politicians like the person who runs a province half the time of his appearances, no questions to the media. Man, that's a really cushy thing.
That's bold. That's
Yeah,
very
but
bold.
it's smart too because he knows the temperature of the electorate.
There you go. So you can't fault a man for strategizing if he ends up winning. That basically just means that his strategy worked.
Yeah, from what I read, I've read some reports too that the Conservative Party, they did a lot of knocking on doors and everything before the election happened to really take the temperature. They did their research
Oh
to
yeah,
take the
absolutely.
temperature of the electorate, and they played it well.
We have neighbors here, including a Jamaican brother here. He has his sign. It's conservative. He's Jamaican. Jamaican family, blue sign. I don't have any sign. I'm a Pan Africanist. Give me the RBG flag. I'll put it right there. But
Mm,
no, I know many black people, they voted conservatives. Now, I don't know how many, in terms of percentage, I don't know how many percentage of black people voted. And I
that
don't
would
know how
be
many,
interesting.
there you go.
That would be very very interesting. And again, another area that one of the things that we always are challenged with data about Black Canadians. I think, and someone could put a reminder on me on this. Get me to find out if I can find out what percentage of eligible Black Ontario voters voted this past election. I've been very, 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 very curious about that.
That would be interesting indeed.
Yes, that would be quite interesting, and I think, uh, I guess it's a part of a longer core conversation. I know we'll have it when we talk about periodically about what's going on with the Black ecosystem and all these things. And I think, well, I just think it's another conversation topic. The Black ecosystem. What is the future of the Black ecosystem? But that's a whole other conversation. But surely, what happened in Ontario, I think, has an impact on that future. And again, as Cesar always says, we got to take care of our own destiny.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if a lot of people Depends how the government rolls. But remember, the conservative government now has a strong majority.
Very strong majority.
Like,
They're already majority and they managed to increase by 7 seats.
yeah,
That
that,
is,
yeah, and less people voted. So then we're going to hear people say, well, they're complaining, and then you ask that question, did you vote?
mhm.
Always that bottom line question. So did you vote? And if they said no,
There you go. There you
but
go.
hey, we will see what goes on with that in regards. And I wonder what Prime Minister Trudeau. I think Prime Minister Trudeau must have looked at election, but I think it sounds like him and Ford somewhat get along. But maybe Doug. Hey, do you think? Huh? Do you think the Federal Conservative Party would like Doug Ford to run?
The truth of the matter is this. Do you think any of those leaders who are vying for leadership of the federal conservative would like to see Doug Ford run? To me, the answer is no.
No, they wouldn't.
Yet, there you go. Yet, if I were to be honest, and I'm not a conservative, but if I were to be honest, if the conservative really aim to win the federal elections in 2025, considering the Liberals and NDP deal, none of those men is the best fit.
We'll
Pierre
see.
Poilievre is too much. I mean, I don't know if he's really to the right. He's to me, he's fake. To me, he's fake. He's a populist.
Mm.
He's a wannabe Maxime Bernier, but Maxime already occupies that spot. Jean Charest, centrist. Jean Charest is fake. He's a populist. He's not a populist. Sorry, Pierre Poilievre is a populist. Jean Charest is an opportunist. You will not convince my blackness, my Pan Africanist blackness, that you're a conservative after you've been elected and re-elected twice as the liberal premier of Quebec. Forget it. As Italians say, get out of here. There's not a chance. There's not a chance. It's a pure joke. The guy is a pure opportunist. If it was the NDP who were asking him to become the leader with a potential of forming the government, suddenly, Charest would discover himself some orange affiliations. No, 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 I don't believe it. Yes, he came into politics a conservative, but then he flip flopped.
Yeah.
He went to the. He's an opportunist. Let's call it what it is.
Well,
Let's call it what it is. I have more respect for Maxime Bernier, as much as I fundamentally disagree with his white supremacy ideology in the name of Canadian pride. But I have more supremacy for this man, Maxime Bernier, who could have become the leader of the conservative in place of Andrew Scheer, or right after Andrew Scheer, I should say. But those who are there, Poilievre, Charest, you already know what I think about our sister Lewis, aka I don't understand how a black woman can think she can become the leader of the Conservative Party in a Western nation. It kind of beats me. It's as if me, with all my traditional looking face, I'm gonna run for Republicans in the US and wonder why they don't vote me in. It's ridiculous. So no, 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 no.
all right. Well, we'll close off our conversation today. This is Pride Month in a lot of locations right
Mhm.
across this country, and wanted to get Cesar to share about blacks and homophobia.
Dr. Vibe, we cannot lie. I've said it before. Others have said it before. Blacks as a community are actually conservative. Since we're talking about,
That
conservative parties,
that's why I wanted to segue that. That was a segue.
absolutely, blacks are social conservative. Whether it be that they vote majority liberal in the name of liberty, or they think Democrats equal democracy in the U.S. As a community, blacks are socially conservative. Socially conservative greatly due to the influence of, we have to say it, religion, Christianity and Islam imposed through slavery and colonization. And as such, our brothers and sisters in the LGBTQ spectrum, they suffer greatly. Lil Nas X and Montero didn't come out of nowhere with a message that he's a result of the black church. And as such, all the attacks that he suffered are because of that. But I talk about Lil Nas X, a musical celebrity, blah, 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 with connection, fame, and money. But we have so many black LGBTQ who live in fear, who live in the closet, who live in perpetual shame and, guilt, condemnation, including of going to hell if they're not beat up or killed and sometimes raped. And I don't just mean women, aka black lesbian women raped. I'm talking also about men. And I'm not just talking about in jail. So homophobia is rampant in the black community. Homophobia is rampant in the black community. The main reason, the number one reason being uh, Christianity and Islam. Because as much as people don't like to hear it, there are no records of homophobia in traditional African culture. I know some of our black conscious brothers and sisters who will absolutely bring to me the Ma'at, the 42 laws of Ma'at, of Kemet in Black Pharaonic ancient Egypt, talking about the law that says to not sleep with a man. Well, if we dare to be honest in terms of history, sociology, and anthropology, not only did that law first was towards Pharaoh, who had a duty to reproduce in terms of continuing life, but at the same time, there is no such a thing as a law that's enforced, but we don't see the punishment upon the people. I can absolutely tell you what happened in ancient Egypt 5,000 years ago, 4,000, 3,000 years ago if someone killed a cat. The cat was sacred, but the cat was sacred because the cat eats mice and other small animals that bring infections to the grains, aka when you kill a cat, you increase the potential of a rat or mouse or whatever to infect the food, and therefore thousands will be killed, will die. But I cannot tell you what happened if someone was homosexual or lesbian. So that's a fundamental problem. It's the ideologies of foreigners, of white foreigners, Arabs first, and then Europeans with Islam and Christianity. And this is why we carry into our communities here in the Americas, from Canada to Brazil, but as well in Africa, where we have LGBTQ people being killed, especially trans. It's terrible. It has to stop.
Mhm.
Some people will say, oh, how dare you equal, you know, homophobia with racism? Or I'm not trying to compare being gay with being black. You can hide being LGBTQ. Yes, you can. You cannot hide being black. Very few black people can be passing, but the vast majority of LGBTQ people can hide that part of their identity. However, we cannot try to claim that the ideologies that so many black people, Friday for prayer in the name of Allah, Sunday and for some Saturday in the name of Jesus, those same ideologies are racist, those same ideologies are sexist, those same ideologies are also homophobic. And we keep maintaining the culture of those ideologies in our communities to surprise ourselves as so many black parents rejecting the daughters and sons, and so many brothers and sisters rejecting their own because of the sexual orientation, the sexual difference. For what? They're not inviting you to the bed. They're not inviting you. I mean, and even LGBTQ rights began with black people. Stonewall, 1969, black people. And yet, in this world of white supremacy, white LGBTQ took over the political fight. And this is why they get more donations and they get more publicity. But no, LGBTQ rights are part of black rights. My Pan Africanism is all Black people. It's not, I will not defend you because you're Christian or Muslim. You're Black first. No matter how so many Black people view themselves as Muslim or Christian first until they get that treatment from Arabs or from whites. But Pan Africanism does not stop at the fact of your sexual orientation. You're LGBTQ, but you're Black first. So I stand in solidarity with our LGBTQ brothers and sisters, and that's why, in the nature of my work as Eastern Ontario Regional Director of Equity, Diversity, and Inclusivity, I had the Philadelphia flag, LGBTQ flag that has the black and brown bar. I had I had it integrated into offices of child welfare all across Eastern Ontario. We need to recognize the dignity of our brothers and sisters who are LGBTQ in the same way that we respect, I respect, even if I'm fundamentally anti religion, anti Abrahamic, anti Brahmism, but I respect the sanctity, the dignity of the life of our brothers and sisters who are Christian, Muslims, Jewish, Hindus. I just will work my entire life for them to get rid of those ideologies because those ideologies are at the center and beginning of notably homophobia in the Black community and so many issues, including self hate, skin bleaching, sexism, and misogyny in the Black community.
We have ended our conversation on that note, Cesar. I always want to thank you for taking the time to share. I hear the 1-year-old in the background periodically, so that's where I say, okay, that's the producer in the background.
She's playing with her cousin. Today was the
Yeah,
day of family. Family
yes,
all day, yes.
but I appreciate you taking family time to share with us today. As always, appreciate everything you've done, past, present, and future for our people. For our people, it's appreciated, not taken for granted. How can people get in touch with you, sir?
If you don't mind, just before that, I'd like to send my condolences to a Black family in Brazil. I invite you to discover this. Brother Luke of BIA Media, if you have the article, please share it. It's important that our brothers and sisters look up the fate that happened to Genivaldo de Jesus Santos in Brazil, a Black man suffering of mental health who was killed by police. Not only did they beat him and handcuffed him, but in tossing him in the back of a car, they threw gas and basically he died of torture as in a gas chamber. As
Wow.
I say this happened this week, uh, end of last week, if I'm correct. At the same time, I like to send my condolences to so many families. It is said up to 50 people got killed. Today, I think it was today or late last night, with the time difference in Nigeria, as up to 50 people got murdered in a church, very likely by other Nigerian Muslims. When I talk about how Christianity and Islam kill people in Africa, it's not a joke. Every year we have hundreds of Africans who will get killed because they're either Christians or they're either Muslims by other Africans. I've never heard of whites, Arabs, or Asians being killed by their own people in the name of a Black ideology.
Mm.
People can get in touch with me, um, rootsandculturecanada.com, but also on Facebook. Cesar space Remy, Rimy. You will find me there.
Thank you
Thank
so
you, Mr.
much.
White. Thank you, BI Media. Always.
Pleasure. It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show. Also, host and co-producer of Black Canada Talking, which is on every Sunday afternoon at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. You can also catch me during the week, 9 a.m. Monday and Fridays Eastern Time. I co-host and produce The Morning Vibe with Ryan Knight, who is the executive director of the African Canadian Business Network. Also, you can catch me on Saturday evenings. I host and co-produce the State of Things with Aisha and Jill. That's Aisha K. Staggers and Jill Jones. They provide their takes on social and political events in the United States and America and also around the world. As always, I want to close off by saying, please subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook and or YouTube. We appreciate that. It's not taken for granted. As always, I close off with this. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get smaller to get stronger. Block assumptions, then aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Remember to give yourself grace. Also, don't just manage your time, manage your energy. And also thanks to BIA Media for the production of today's epic conversation. God bless, peace, you all, keep the faith, and we'll see you next week.